Hello and welcome to my AQA GCSE Maths Foundation Paper 2, predicted paper for summer 2022. Before we begin, some general information. Firstly, I'd highly recommend that you download and try doing this paper before watching the walkthrough. I've put a link in the description so you can download it to try first. The paper perfectly covers the advanced topic list material released by AQA in February 2022. All of the questions are original and created by myself, so you won't find these questions in any other paper. And finally, there's no guarantee that questions will be asked exactly in this way, but this is excellent practice for your summer exams. For this first question, we need to work out the range of 15 and 10. The range is just the biggest number take away the smallest number. So the biggest number is 15 and the smaller number 10, so we'll just do 15 take away 10, which gives you 5, so that's the answer. For this question, we need to make sure we do the multiplies first. So a times a and 3 times b. A times a is a squared, and 3 times b is 3b, so the answer is a squared, take away 3b. For this question, we have a number line between 6 and 7 that's split into 4 equal pieces. In between 6 and 7 is 6.5. In between 6 and 6.5 is 6.25. And between 6.5 and 7 is 6.75, so A is at 6.75. For this one we need to remember BIDMAS, which tells us the order to do the calculations. For the first one we do the multiply first, 3 times 2, which is 6, and then 3 add 6, which is 9. For the next one we do the indices first, so 3 squared. 3 squared is 9, and then 9 times 2 is 18. For the next one we do divide first, so 12 divided by 2, that's 6, so 6 add 6 is 12. For the last one we need to do both multiplies, so 2 times 2 and 2 times 3. 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 3 is 6, so 4 add 6 is 10. Since we were after 12, the answer is the third one. For this question we're going to start with 2/3. If you type 2 divided by 3 into your calculator, you'll get 0.6 recurring, which is greater than 0.6, so for the first one we need to write is greater than. For this next question we need to type 3 divided by 8 into your calculator. This will give 0.375. Now whilst it's got more digits than 0.38, it's actually smaller because it goes 37 rather than 38, so this one is less than. For this last question you could type it into your calculator and get a decimal, but you might find it easier to write it as a mixed number. So instead say how many 5s go into 24, which is 4, and then how many left over, which is also 4, and the denominator would be 5. So 24 over 5 is the same as 4 and 4/5, which is obviously bigger than 4 and 3/5, so this one is greater than again. In this question we're told that a coach can hold 62 students, and that the school hires 4 coaches. If we do 62 times 4 then, we find out that 248 students can fit on the coaches. Going on the trip though, we have 335 students, so if we do 335 take away 248, we find there are 87 students that won't fit on the coaches. They're going by minibus instead, and each minibus can hold 14 students, so if we do 87 divided by 14, we get this number here, so we need 6.2142857 minibuses. Now of course you can't have this number of minibuses, so we need to go up to the next number of minibuses, so the answer is 7. You can't have 6 minibuses because there wouldn't be enough space. In this question, at 2:25 PM the adverts start and they last for 15 minutes, so if we do 2:25 PM add 15 minutes, we end up at 2:40 PM. We then have the film which starts and lasts for 1 hour, 37 minutes. I find this is easier to break it down. So first of all add 1 hour, which gets you to 3:40, then add the 30 minutes, which gets you to 4:10, and then add the last 7 minutes, so that's 4:17. So the answer to the question is 4:17 PM. For this question we're told that Alvin has K marbles, but we're told Simon has 3 more marbles than Alvin. So if Simon has 3 more, it must be K plus 3. Theo, however, has twice as many marbles as Alvin. Since Alvin has K, we need to do 2 times K, which is just 2K. For this question, we're asked to factorise. To factorise means to put into brackets. So if we look at 8t and -12, we're looking for the highest number that goes into both of them. That turns out as 4. So we take a 4 outside the brackets. We then need to decide what goes inside the brackets. So 4 times something will give us 8t, and that's 2t. And then 4 times something will give -12, and that's -3. So now it's factorised. A tangent is a straight line that touches the outside of the circle in one place. So a straight line that looks something like this. You could draw this anywhere on the circle as long as it just touches once. To draw a sector, we first of all draw a radius, and then another radius. If we then shade in the area that this makes, this is a sector. First of all, we need to find the coordinates of A, so if we start at A and go down to the x-axis, we see it hits at 2, so the x-coordinate is 2. If we go from A across to the y-axis, it hits at 7, so the coordinate is 7. For this next part, we need to use the information that M is the midpoint of the line AB to work out the coordinates of B. So this is the line AM, and there's a point B somewhere on the diagram that makes M in the middle. So if we just draw this exact same line again but from M, we'll find out where B is. So B is here, which has coordinates 10, 3. Now if you're struggling to see how we found B, you could start at A and go across 4 and down 2 so that you hit M, and then repeat that journey across 4 and down 2 again. For this question, we'll need to find the cheapest way of buying 16 apples. There are lots of different options though. Let's imagine first of all, we just bought single apples at 25 pence each. We'd need to buy 16 of them, so 16 single apples is 16 times 25p, which comes out as £4. Now what about if we use the pack of 8 apples? Since there are 8 in a packet and we only need 16, we just need 2 packs. So 2 packs of 8 apples is 2 lots of £1.95, which comes out as £3.90. Now if we use the pack of 5 apples, we can't get exactly 16 apples, but if we take 3 packs of 5 apples, we'd have 15, and we'd need 1 more single apple. So if we do 3 packs of 5 apples, and 1 single, we'll do 3 lots of £1.20 at 25p. This comes out as £3.85, which is the cheapest possible way. For this question, it says 1 centimetre represents 50 metres. This means if we take any of the lengths, like the 600, and divide it by 50, we'll find out what it should be in centimetres. 600 divided by 50 is 12. If we do the same with the others, so 400 divided by 50 gives you 8 centimetres, and 250 divided by 50 gives you 5 centimetres. So we need to draw this shape again, but using these lengths in centimetres. So I'll draw the length along the top first of all, 12 centimetres. Then the one down the left hand side, 8 centimetres, then across 5 centimetres at the bottom, and then you can just join the shape up. For this question, it says the area of the compound shape is 432 centimetres squared. Since it's made up of 8 identical parallelograms, if we just divide this by 8, we'll get the area of one parallelogram, which is 54 centimetres squared. So if we know the area is 54 centimetres squared, the way you calculate this is the base times the perpendicular height. So in this case, 9 times h. So when we multiply 9 by h, we need to get 54. So if we do 54 divided by 9, we'll find out what h is. And that's 6 centimetres, which is the answer to the question. To find the y-intercept of this line, we look where the graph crosses the y-axis. That's here. So the coordinates of this point are 0, 2. To find the gradient of the line, we need to draw a gradient triangle, so pick 2 nice points on the line and draw your triangle. You then work out the change in y and the change in x. The change in y is 1 square, and the change in x is 2 squares. So the gradient is the change in y divided by the change in x, which is 1 divided by 2. Notice this graph is sloping upwards, so we know the gradient's positive. So the answer is 1/2. We now need to write the equation of the line in the form y equals mx plus c. M is just the gradient, which we know is 1/2, and c is the intercept, which we know crosses at 2. So the equation of this line is y equals 1/2, that's the gradient, x plus 2, and that's the intercept. For this question, we're told 150 grams costs £1.32, but we need to find 475 grams. I find the easiest way to do this question is to find a stepping stone in the middle, a number that goes into both 150 and 475, and I've spotted 25. You could use any number that goes into both of these, you could even use 1 gram if you wanted to. So how would you get from 150 grams to 25 grams? That's divide by 6. If you're unsure how to do this, do 150 divided by 25, and notice you get 6. Then to get from 25 to 475, we times by 19. Again, if you do 475 divide 25, you'll see this gives you 19. So to get from 150 to 475, we divide by 6, then times by 19, so we can do the same with the price. £1.32 divided by 6 gives you 22 pence, and then times by 19 gives you £4.18, and that's the answer to the question. For this question, we're told 84% of the counters are blue. Since the rest are yellow, we know this must add up to 100%. So do 100%, take 84%, and you get 16%. So 16% are yellow. So if we write the ratio of blue to yellow, it's 84 to 16. The question asks us to write this in the form n to 1 though. This means we need to have a 1 on the right hand side of the ratio. To get from 16 to 1, we divide by 16. So if we divide 84 by 16, we'll find out what n needs to be. 84 divided by 16 is 5.25, so the ratio is 5.25 to 1. For this question, we're looking at some facts about parallelograms. First of all, we need to decide if all of the sides are equal in length. Well, in the one we've got here, clearly they're not all the same length, but you can draw a parallelogram like this, which if you turn sideways, is a rhombus, and all of the sides are the same length. A rhombus is just a special parallelogram, so this could be true. The next one, we're looking at the angles, in particular opposite angles. So if we start with this red angle here, is it the same as the one opposite, over here? Well, it is. And what about this green one here? It is the same as the one opposite, so this is always true. Finally, adjacent angles. Adjacent angles are next to each other, so do they add up to 180 degrees? Well, since these two lines here are parallel, the red and the green angle are what we call co-interior or allied angles, which means they add up to 180. In a similar way, because these two lines are parallel, these two angles are also co-interior or allied angles, which means they add up to 180. So this is also always true. For this question, we're trying to find the percentage of the class that are females. In the ratio, the 3 represents the females. So there are 3 parts out of a total of 5 parts. So this is the fraction of females. To turn this into a percentage, you just multiply it by 100. If you type this into your calculator, you'll get 60%, which is the answer to the question. The first thing to do on this question is work out 1/4 of 60. To do 1/4 of 60, you just divide 60 by 4, which gets you 15. This means 4/5 of Harpreet's number is equal to 15. So 4/5 times some number equals 15. To do 4/5 of a number, you would divide it by 5 and then times it by 4. But we're not finding 4/5 of a number. 4/5 of a number equals 15. So to find out the number, we need to do the opposite. Rather than divide by 5 and times by 4, we'll times by 5 and divide by 4. So take 15 and multiply by 5, which gets you 75, and then take 75 and divide by 4, which gets you 18.75. And that's the answer to the question. For this question, we're looking at the point 3, 2. Remember, when we have a point like this, the first number is the x and the second number is the y. So x is 3 and y is 2. So we need to substitute these into one of these lines and see if it makes sense. So if we start with the first one, remember we're going to write it out again, but instead of x we're going to write 3, and instead of y we're going to write 2. So if we change the y to a 2, equals 2 lots of x, and remember x is 3, take away 4. If we leave the left hand side as 2, and on the right do 2 lots of 3, 2 lots of 3 is 6, and then take 4. 6 take 4 is 2, so for this one, 2 equals 2, which is correct, which means this point is on this line. For this question, we're told the probability that Olivia wins is 0.3. To work out the probability she doesn't win, which is the probability she loses in this case, we do 1 take away 0.3, which gives 0.7. So to complete the tree diagram, I need to write 0.7s by the lose. For the next part, we need to calculate the probability that Olivia does not win a prize. If she does not win a prize, then she loses on both attempts. So she loses the first attempt and loses the second attempt. So we take the probabilities from here and multiply them. 0.7 times 0.7, which gives you the answer 0.49. The first part of this question asks us for the relative frequency of wins. So if we look in the table, we can see there were 7 wins, and altogether there were 20 games. So the relative frequency is 7/20. For the next part, we need to find out an estimate for the number of times that Jim won. Well, he wins with a relative frequency of 7/20, and he plays 400 games in total, so we just times this by 400. You can do this using your calculator, and you'll get 140. In this question, we're told that from January to February, the share price increased by 20%. The share price in January is £3. To increase a number by 20%, you multiply it by 1.2. So if you type this into your calculator, you get £3.60. For this next part, we need to calculate the percentage decrease from February to March. We know the share price in February, we just worked it out, it's £3.60. So what we need to work out is what percentage it decreased from February to March. A percentage decrease can be calculated using this formula, change over original times 100. So first of all, we'll work out the change in the share price. It started at £3.60 and now it's £1.08, so we'll take away £1.08, which gives you £2.52. So that's the change. We can then use the formula, change over original, so £2.52, divide by the original price, which is February's price of £3.60, and then times by 100. If you type this into your calculator, you'll get a 70% decrease. In this question, we're told that ABC is 90 degrees. This means we have a right-angled triangle, which means it could be about Pythagoras or trigonometry. We're asked to find the length AB, which is this one here. Since this question is only about lengths, it's a Pythagoras question. So if we label the sides, the one we're trying to find A, the 13 would be B, and the 19 would be the hypotenuse C. We can then use the formula a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if we substitute in values first, we get a squared plus 13 squared is 19 squared. If we rearrange, we get a squared equals 19 squared, take away 13 squared. We can then work these out, so a squared equals 361, take away 169, which gives you 192, and then we can just square root this. So a equals the square root of 192, which comes out as this number here. The question does say though, give your answer to 1 decimal place, so we're going to need to round this number, and it comes out at 13.9. For this question, we need to expand and simplify, so if we write the question out, we can do 7 times 2p, which is 14p, 7 times 4, which is plus 28, negative 2 times p, which is negative 2p, and then this one you have to be careful with, negative 2 times negative 5 is a positive 10. We can then simplify by collecting like terms, so we have 14p take 2p, which is 12p, and then 28 add 10, which is plus 38. The first thing to do in this question is find x. We're told x plus 7 equals 22, which is an equation we can solve. If we take 7 from both sides, on the left the 7's cancel, so we're left with x, and on the right 22 take away 7 gives you 15. Now we know what x is, we're asked what percentage of y it represents. Now instead, imagine what fraction it represents. So what fraction is x of y? Well, that's just 15, which is x, over 18, which is y. To turn this into a percentage, we just times by 100. So if you type this into your calculator, you'll get 83.3 recurring percent. In this question, we're told that the mean mass of the first 8 dogs is 34.2 kilograms. This means that when you added up all of the masses, divided by 8, you'd get 34.2. So if we do that backwards and instead do 8 times 34.2, you get 273.6, which is the total mass of all of those 8 dogs. But there's an extra dog. which has a mass of 27 kilograms. So if we add that dog in as well, 273.6, add 27, you get 300.6. Now this is the total mass of all 9 dogs. The question asked us to find the mean mass of all 9 dogs. So if we take that number 300.6, divide it by the 9 dogs, you'll get a mean mass of 33.4 kilograms. In this question, we're told that 430 students selected science. Science has 120 degrees in the pie chart, so 120 degrees represents 430 students. We need to work out how many selected maths though. If you look at the angle for maths, you can see that all of these angles must make 360 since it's a pie chart. So 360, take 120, take 48, gives you 192. So that's the angle for maths. So we need to work out that if 120 degrees is 430 students, what does 192 degrees represent? Well, I like to write 1 degree in the middle, and then say to get from 120 degrees to 1 degree, you divide by 120. And then to get from 1 degree to 192 degrees, you times by 192. So if we do the same to the number of students, we'll work out how many there are. So 430 students, divide by 120, and then times by 192. If you divide by 120 first, you'll get this number, and then if you times that number by 192, you'll get 688. So the answer is 688 students. For this question, we need to find a prime number that when you times it by 2 and then add 1, you get a cube number. So write down your prime numbers first, 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19 and so on, and your cube numbers as well. So 1, 8, 27, 64 and so on. Now it turns out the only answer to this is if you use 13 and 27, since if you do 2 times 13 and add 1, you do get 27. And you can see here 13 is the prime number and 27 is the cube number. So P would be 13 and C would be 27. In this question, we're told that machine A produces a can every 2 seconds. So for machine A, there are 60 seconds in 1 minute, so 60 divided by 2 means it produces 30 cans every minute. Machine B though is a bit faster, it can produce a can every 1.2 seconds. So for machine B, 60 divided by 1.2 means it makes 50 cans every minute. In the question we're told that both machines are turned on at 1 PM, but then at 1:25 PM machine B is turned off. So we have 25 minutes where both machines are working. If both machines are working, then altogether they're producing 80 cans, since 50 add 30 gives 80. So at 1:25 PM, we've had 25 minutes of producing 80 cans a minute, so we can do 80 times 25, which means they would have produced 2,000 cans by this point. In the question, it tells us the company needs to produce 2,480 cans, so if we do 2,480 take away 2,000, there are 480 cans still left to be made. Unfortunately though, machine A is working by itself now, since machine B is turned off, so it's only making 30 cans a minute. 480 divided by 30 gives you 16, so it will take 16 more minutes for machine A to produce these cans on its own. The question says, at what time will the required number of cans be produced? So we know we're at 1:25 PM and we've got another 16 minutes, so we just do 1:25 PM add 16 minutes, which gives you 1:41 PM. Thank you for watching this video. Here are some rough grade boundaries to give you an idea of how well you've done. Remember, we won't know exactly what the boundaries are until after the exams are done. Let me know how you get on in the comments. Also check out what I think you should watch next, and subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video.